So, all right, let's see. I've opened my Google app. Why is this not sending me my alert? Here we go.
Just so Lexi, just so you know, and everyone knows, we are recording, so you're being recorded.
Okay, I'll try not to cuss then when I'm frustrated with my computer. Google is being super restrictive with letting me in. Okay, I've opened the app and it's just loading. All right, so I am momentarily technically impaired. Is anybody else on this call able to access the email that I sent that had the link to the social media post? And in the meantime, I can talk through getting everybody to say who's here, because on my phone, I just can't see very well. Let's see if they want to let me try another way. Get a verification. Oh, let's try that. It's going to let me try verifying through my phone. Yes. G 3 4 4.
In the meantime, Lexi, I'm trying to pull it up on my end.
Yay. Okay. It let me do it now. So now let's see. Homework and announcements, purpose statements, draft agenda. Here we go. Come on, show all the info. Here we go. Dang it, it's not in here. I hate how Google organizes. I'm sorry, I thought I was ready. I thought I had the email up. Let's see. Let me see if I can find from Sloan. You having any luck, Jill or Katie? I'm not sure who was.
Yeah, I was trying to manually type it in because I can't get into Gmail on my work computer, but
I know that's my problem. I'm on my work computer.
I have it on mine, but I don't know. Can anyone share the screen?
That would be, oh, yes. So if you,
Wait, I think I've got it. Do you want me to share it right now?
yeah.
Okay.
But while you're sharing it, we can go on ahead and can I get everyone just to say your name and say here? So I guess I'm being secretary here. So I see Scott.
Guy Koresh, present.
Yeah.
Sloan Carfield, present.
Joe Magruder, present.
Katie Miller, present.
I think I heard Centron was on. But I'm not sure he could hear us or we could hear him. And Lexi O'Brien, present. And I think Dale, he was going to jump off after he got us all started, but he's welcome to stay if you'd like.
Okay. I think I got it now. If we're good to go. Okay.
We are, I think.
Can you
Lexi.
see that?
Yeah.
Lexi, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yes.
I'm gonna be here and listening. So if you need me, I can help with something if I can. But I'm not gonna really participate unless you need me to. So yell if you need me. Get back on.
Okay. We might like to get your eyes on this social media post in case you have an opinion on it. So now that we've taken our roll call, and I've got Dale written down, the first item that I wanted to do was share the social media post that Sloan and I knocked out last week. So you might all recall that in our March meeting, we brainstormed some ideas for future social media posts, and bike safety was the one that we said was most immediately applicable. So we didn't see any FAQs or previous social posts from the police department on this. So we looked at some other sources and drafted something. So I think, well, the reason I sent the link ahead of time was so that you could take a look at it. And then I wanted to see if there was any feedback about that post, or if we're okay to use it as is. So Sloan, the first one, she's showing the second screen right now.
Which one do you want me to show?
Well, the first one is pretty simple, and we just pirated some existing artwork in the Canva solution. So bike safety, let's ride. And then it's got, you know, our crediting the PCUB. And then I think the second screen is the one that I think is important that we get people's input, especially from Dale, if you've got opinions about what we should be saying here. So Sloan, do you want to read what those four tips are that we came up with?
Sure. Okay, so the first one says wear a helmet. The second one says follow traffic laws. The third one says use bike lanes where available. And then the last one says be alert to cars and pedestrians. And then it has our watermark thing on the bottom.
Yeah, I think it looks great. And
I think it looks
yeah.
great. Yeah.
Okay.
We could do a third slide that says have a safe and fun summer or something like that, but we don't have to do that.
That's a cute idea. That'd be pretty easy to do right after this. So good idea.
Cool. Is everybody okay with Sloan just picking up the color palette and the fonts that we're using there? And I will follow behind her to make sure that we proofread. And then, of course, I think Jenny Starkey is also great for that, because she's our next step, is we would send it to her.
Okay,
And
so
she would decide.
here's a thought. So I'm sure it'll be like on Instagram or something, right? And so then there's something, you know, where there's kind of underneath like hashtag
Like a
this or
caption.
whatever. And I wonder if there could be a link, and I don't know if this exists, but like, is there something already on our city website about like traffic laws for bicyclists? Because we could link to that so that if somebody, you know, read down, they could be like, oh, what are the traffic laws for bicyclists in Webster Groves? And they could click that link.
Yeah, I think that sounds great, Katie, as well, because I think I'm curious if everybody's, you know, riding on the proper side of the road, transitioning from sidewalk or using the sidewalk or not when there's not a bike lane, little things like that. And I wonder if also the police department has any tips on what are the most common causes of those cars striking bikes and issues that come up.
We're putting you on the spot, Dale.
Sorry, I had to get back. Yeah, fortunately, we have very few issues with bike safety and cyclist accidents. Whenever they do occur, 99.9% of the time, it's because of inattention by a driver. Really, it's not the cyclist. So, I mean, I think all the tips here are good. I think the illustrations are good. You also might want to check our Facebook page. We did have an event where we gave out helmets and had a bike safety event with the officers, and that's up on our Facebook page now.
All right. Yes. Sloan and I did search on the city websites, and we didn't see any FAQs about it, but an event on the Facebook page. So we will look for that, Dale, and see if
Right,
it's still linkable.
It's on the police Facebook webpage. It's not on the city's
Yep.
web.
Yeah, we did look at the police one, and I guess we just missed it.
Well, I think it just went up either yesterday afternoon or this morning.
Oh, good. We're absolved. It wasn't up yet when we put this together. Well, gosh, if we could get Jenny to put this up pretty quickly, it would even be help promote your event. So we could link to that Facebook event. What do you think, Sloan?
I think that would be good. Wait, has the event not happened yet?
Yeah,
Or
the
did it-
event- yeah, the event's already occurred.
Yeah, it's
Oh, it
already.
already occurred. Okay. So it's a post about that event. I don't know. I've never done that for a past event. I guess they're still available, but it's probably kind of nice. Why don't Sloan and I take a look at that and we'll reply to the whole board and just say, hey, here's that third panel we added. And we'll talk to Jenny about when she's going to post it, but we'll have to validate that we really can link to that past event. And
And
then
we-
it will make sense to users to do that because that might be kind of confusing.
Maybe it's just part of the copy with the post to say, you know, here's an example of how our police gets involved in bike safety and kind of pointing to that event, even though it happened. It's a nice proof point to how the police is involved.
Ooh, I like that idea a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So there we go. That is the first item on my agenda. An item that I hoped we would have for today, but I dropped the ball. My mom, I don't know if, I know Jill knows this, but my mom has been really sick last week and we were in and out of ERs and urgent care and stuff. So I dropped the ball on getting our form revisions to Jenny. And so I still have all of that. I'm going to work on getting that all typed up and to her by the end of day Friday. But I think it's unfair to expect her to have it done by our next board meeting. So when I do send it, I'll ask her to give me an estimate of when she thinks we could see that laid out. And we'll be sure that we get it on the next agenda. And I'll also confer with Dale about compliance with Sunshine if, you know, there are some other ways that we could share it and just have maybe people email any feedback that we have about it, because I hate to lose time in between. But we could also schedule another Zoom like this between our upcoming Tuesday PCEB meeting that's in person for those who choose. If we do another one in between, maybe that's when we could look at that form for the feedback. So my apologies for not having that one ready, but I do have another item that I wanted to bring up again because not everybody was able to be with us last meeting. And Jill also had some great ideas. She and I were talking about how we're going to help each other facilitate our meeting on Tuesday and talking about purpose. You'll be seeing a draft agenda come out for that. I'll send that tomorrow, and it'll also have our minutes for approval from the March meeting. But Jill and I just got to talking and we had ideas of how to make our meetings more participatory and also sort of spread the work around, give everybody a chance to be a researcher and an educator for topics that we think are relevant to the PCEB. And so I did talk about this at our last board meeting. And I had listed a few ideas of things that we might look at. One of the ideas Katie gravitated towards, which is mental health. And Related topics are diversion programs that some municipalities have, where emergency calls could be diverted to mental health workers. Another related topic is the new nationwide 988 number for mental health, and I believe it also applies to drug overdose kind of situations as well. So Katie had said that she was interested in that, but probably later this summer, and we haven't pinned anybody down for a particular month. But I wondered if we wanted to talk about that a little bit more and see if anybody wanted to volunteer their particular interest and suggest a month that they felt they would have sufficient time to prepare something to share with the rest of the group.
I wondered on the one you mentioned Katie was interested in, if you would want me to leverage my interaction with WashU and the Barnes ER and other things towards that subject of diversion and mental health number and any of that. I didn't know if that might be, but I would need a few months to pull that together. My overall question is, what is the structure of this? I mean, this meant to educate each other, or what are we aiming for, and what are we doing with these presentations, I guess?
My point of view, and it's not fully baked, is that I think the first pass is that it's educating ourselves, because I think each of us bring different areas of interest and expertise, or at least, some level of knowledge versus none. But then I think that if we think it's relevant and that we need to be educated, there might be, as an outcome, some information that we would want to share on our website. Perhaps also the police department might choose to offer it as an FAQ. So we would have to create more structure around it. The first person up is going to be the guinea pig for this. But I think we can all kind of work together. I wouldn't envision that anyone would have to just sign up and do the whole thing on their own. I like your idea, Scott, of maybe a couple people sort of collaborating a little bit on doing that. Again, all within the confines of being compliant with sunshine law. But hopefully, since it's not about setting a policy, but it's more a learning activity, perhaps that can just be done by one-on-one meetings. So we'll have to get clarification on that.
Yeah, I'm sure if it's just a couple of us breaking out, that's compliant from everything I've learned.
Okay.
And Lexi, I could jump in with my idea if you like.
Yeah.
So this kind of stemmed from Katie at the end of last meeting, and I forgot the gentleman's name who's resigned from the board, but bringing up school shootings and just, how do we respond to that? If or when do we respond to that? I met with Jenny Starkey to just kind of talk about that a bit more. And ultimately we landed on, unfortunately it's happening too much. So it would be quite a bit to put out a statement every time something happened. She mentioned, they did put out something when it happened here in St. Louis, in the Tower Grove area. But ultimately, we thought a nice article might be the way to go. So a little bit more in depth, a little bit more kind of looking at what policies and procedures the police and, in partnership with the school resource officers and the schools have in place. Centra, and we haven't met yet, but mentioned kind of the angle of just student mental health when something does happen. So I think there's a lot of potential there to have kind of an article that maybe, and it could be shared several times. It can kind of live in a more ongoing way on our website. Jenny pointed to the No-Mo article that the Green Space Commission did that was in the Friday page and a couple other places. That was kind of her example of what something like that might look like. So I thought I would kind of roll with that in my research topic. Maybe Sloan and Centron, if you're interested in just kind of chatting more about it, would love to, collaborate with you both on that, and just kind of take that a bit further and deeper and see what we can learn there. In terms of a month, Lexi, probably not May. I don't know if anyone wants to volunteer for May, but certainly maybe by the summer seems very reasonable.
Okay. So you think maybe June could be a target, Jill, or?
Yeah, I think I can make June work. Yeah.
Okay. Katie, when you and I were talking a little bit about this at the last meeting, you were saying sort of maybe midsummer, but I know things change when you got kids and parents and all that. So do you have a time frame in mind when you might want to present on a mental health topic? I guess you'd probably want to get agreement with Scott on, when that could happen as far as his contacts as well. Would July be too soon?
If I'm doing some traveling in July, I don't know when Scott's travel schedule is. If I could say what I preferred, it would be probably our August meeting.
Okay.
But I don't know.
August.
What do you think? August?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to be traveling in May and September, so,
Okay.
and
Okay.
teaching
Okay.
in June, so got some stuff to do. So
Well, the other thing is we don't all have to have our topic right now. Another topic that came up at our last meeting is we know that every year the traffic stops report comes out again. People are curious, confused. There's a lot of interpretation to be done with that and nuance. We know there are some flaws with it. And Dale, I think you said that comes out. Does that come out in June, or would we maybe want to do like a July on that topic? And if I can get, maybe I could partner up with Dale to figure out like, what is a good way to help us communicate beyond our own committee, our own board. And I know we've got several new members that haven't heard about it in the past, but then, maybe as an outcome, there's a slide or, I don't know, maybe an article that maybe seems like a lot, but that we could share. Does that seem meaningful to people? I know John isn't on this call, but at one point he had been interested in that, I thought.
Like, see, it comes out on June the 1st, and I I still have all the material from last year. And as I mentioned, unfortunately, I think it's going to go up again this year because
Yeah.
our minority population decreased again. But
Yeah.
in any case, the graphs and the data, we can certainly do a very, maybe just a couple slides on it, and it's kind of it's still not real clear if you're not familiar with everything, but it would help people if you want to take a look at that. And certainly as a board, we can take a look at it. Probably the June meeting is the best time to do it because that'll be immediately following when it comes out.
So if we did that in the June meeting, Jill, would you find July just as good for the school shootings, or?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have any problem putting it off till July if that helps Jill out. It's just like I said, it comes out June the 1st. That's usually when we get the most questions on it. Last year, for whatever reason, I mean, normally the media, the print media especially, hits on them. Last
Yeah.
year, for whatever reason, they did not. So we didn't get a lot of questions. But before that, prior to that, every year right after it came out is when we usually got the questions on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I prefer July just to get a little bit more time there. So not a concern for me at all. Yep.
All right. Well, wow, this was just really fast. So what I've written down on my notes here is that in June, when it's particularly timely, Dale and I revisit the traffic stops material that he's already put together. I was really interested in, we know that the denominator is not it doesn't work well, you know, as far as municipalities that have a very small minority population, but we know, oh, here's John, he made it.
Yeah, I've been back here for a while.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. You've been here all along. So I'm putting you down on our roll call. John, is that something that interests you, or were there other topics that you find more compelling?
Yeah, that topic interests me. Active shooter interests me. That's kind of in some of my research interests, and on a college campus, I think about that a lot. So yeah, those two things, and mental health. Actually, D, all of the above. Those are all kind of, I think, are things that are in my head a lot in my world of work. So
Okay.
I'm happy to kind of, slide here and there and help out with whatever ones people have interest in.
Okay. Well, that's great. So I then have June, we could do traffic stops, and John and Dale and I could look at that. And anybody else can volunteer. And I think we'll figure out how we can share things so it can be kind of, people can contribute special knowledge that they have, or also ask questions to make a presentation better, to give someone a preview. Jill is going to do in July the issue of school shootings and how we respond. And the idea of an article, I think, is wonderful, because then sadly we know these things reoccur. And so we'll have it then ready. And
I would be
yes.
interested in helping with that if you need or want more people.
Yeah,
so.
make sure to connect
I
you.
think that's great.
Mhm.
So we're going to put down Jill and Sloan and Centron. If you want to chime in on any of these, I was bragging on you about how you're a school psychologist, and that you have a particularly relevant perspective, I think, for any of these topics that relate to young people. And then the third one I wrote down was for August, is when we would do the mental health topic, and Katie and Scott are going to team up on that one.
That's good.
That's a quarter. That takes us through the
Yeah.
summer. Now, we did have some other brainstorming that we did last meeting when we were just talking about ideas for social media posts, but I kind of feel like that's enough for us to, dig in. That leaves this month's meeting, which is next week on Tuesday. And then the May meeting, by then we absolutely should have that information form, and hopefully we can devote the meeting to looking at that, making any revisions, and then say, yes, go, let's get it out there. So that's what I'm thinking we can put in our agendas.
That's good.
Okay. Jill, you and I were talking about what we're going to do next meeting. And do you want to get a little preview of sort of the exercise we were going to do around purpose? And
Yeah.
then if anybody has suggestions about, hey, is there some other topic that we need to discuss during the April meeting?
Yeah, so we kind of wanted to take all of the purpose statements that the group shared with Lexi and kind of blow them up, kind of put them on the big Post-it legal pads around the room, and then give everyone a finite amount of, whether it's colored Post-its or you each get a colored marker, you will probably get like 3 to 5 circles to just kind of highlight the words that stand out to you the most, or maybe short phrases, with the goal being, let's see what people are kind of aligning around and how that can translate into ultimately what becomes our purpose statement, quick elevator speech. So I've got to do a little bit more planning on this based on what I've done in my career, but it's worked well in terms of just, getting input live, having that little bit more interactivity, limiting the amount of circles or post-it that you get, and really kind of coming up with something that represents all of our views as it relates to the purpose statement. So,
Sounds good.
Cool. Does anyone have something that they'd like to see on the agenda for Tuesday? And I will plug it in now.
I remember Dale talked about, like, for our newer members getting to see the some of the information that was originally presented to the original group of PCEB members about, like, police training, and it was pretty extensive. Do you remember Dale, do you remember what you had kind of suggested at the end or maybe it wasn't at the end, it was at some point during the last meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, it was a mix of the practical training as far as the policies and documents, then also some short videos with some explanations on this is what happens. This is why we do the things that we do, which sometimes the public doesn't understand. And I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Katie, it doesn't explain everything, but I think it helps when you see it and listen to the explanation. I think you're much more understanding and aware of what it is and why it is that we do some of the things we do that sometimes the public goes, why are you being so aggressive, or why are you being so assertive?
I think one impactful thing early was some of those training videos where they had us wear the gear. I don't remember if that was part of the community education aspect, but it had on the video I was presented a school shooting scenario. And I don't know if there could be different, some of the training around that, and that could build into what you guys are talking about for July, for example.
Right. I mean, I'll be glad to revisit that because I think we have probably majority of new members, but it really to get into it, I think it really requires most of a meeting. So I don't want to add that on to something else because I don't want to keep we lose our focus, I think, if we're here more than an hour or so.
Dale, how long do you think you would want to have to share that information and allow for questions? And does it also logically, like, would we want to chunk it up across 2 meetings?
I would try to keep it to like 15 to 20 minutes because again, people lose their focus and interest even when it's interesting. So I really would want to do more than like I said, 15 or 20 minutes of it. We could do
Okay.
I think before what we did is we actually did do that over a couple of meetings. And I don't really have to recreate anything. I just have to go back, pull it and find out and find where it's at. So it's not a whole lot of information in terms of time, but the follow-up questions would probably take, up to 30 minutes of a meeting. And again, like I said, I don't want to take up too much of one meeting with that material because it gets us there too long.
Dale, what if we did that one in May? It would give you a little bit more time. I also think, I think Tuesday's agenda, doing that purpose exercise, because we haven't done something like that before. I want to be sure that we allow enough time for it and to kind of debrief at the end of it. And then the May meeting is when I thought we would have that input form ready for everyone to see. But if we've done our work well, hopefully we can show it and everybody will be like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. And so we would have more time to devote to that education in May.
Right. I can do it whichever meeting you like. Like I said, it won't take me that long to put it back together. And
Okay.
We probably redo some of it to update it, but it shouldn't take that long. So in any case, whenever you want me to do it, we can do that.
Okay.
Just give me some advance notice because I would like to get some of the material out to you before the meeting so you can actually have it, kind of front
Yeah,
questions or concerns about any of it before we even take a look at it, so that you're kind of prepared for it.
yeah. I think it would be more respectful to you and to everybody so that they have time. Let's plan that for May. I think we'll have enough to do in April. And Centron brought up the DEI training, and I am going to email Emerson. Unless Dale, do you know the status of that? Do they have a schedule set? I know they were.
It was on the agenda for the next council meeting, and for whatever reason, they've moved it. So I know it won't be at the next council meeting, but maybe the one following.
Okay. All right. All right, are there any other thoughts about what we want to discuss tonight? I think it would be great if we finished in less than an hour. I appreciate everybody coming together, but I also, while we're all here, if you've got something on your mind about, an agenda item you'd like to see, or just some feedback that you'd like to provide about how we could do better, I am open to hearing it.
Lexi, if I could just for a minute, for a while, everyone's here. Based upon our conversations from not the last meeting necessarily, but actually the meeting before, and John was kind of instrumental in some of the idea on it. If you all get a chance, take a look at the police Facebook page. We've started a bio on officers. We're doing it bi-weekly, and then also a Why Wednesday, where Jillian gets on and answers some questions. So I think that was geared toward what our conversations were, which you all had suggested and recommended that we maybe try to do some of those things. So if you take a look at it, see that's what you had in mind, and maybe give us some suggestions, whether it's good, bad, or things that we can do in addition, or amend that to better communicate with the community.
Oh, that's great. I look forward to seeing it. Isn't is Jillian the officer that just recently was featured in the city newsletter?
Yes, she graduated from the Missouri Command College 2 weeks ago. So she was featured in that. She was the first female commander, obviously, in the department, but she's also was the elected president of that class, which is this class of about 40 officers. It's kind of indicated of her ability to network and deal with people. But anyhow, she was elected the class president. She was the first female president of a command college class.
Great. I love the Why Wednesday idea. Look forward to just tuning into that and maybe seeing where there may be opportunity for us to kind of tap into questions or whatnot. But I think that's a great idea.
Lexi, I want to dial back to the first part of the meeting. I was able to hear
Yes.
the discussion, but I wasn't in the room to comment about the
About the bike social post?
Yeah. And the one piece of feedback I'd like us to consider is that the cyclist on that image looks like a pretty typical average white guy in Webster Groves. And
I thought of that too. Like, could we
I think that
change
we have an
the
opportunity
complexion?
to kind of diversify that. And I also think that, when it comes to bicycle safety, I'm more concerned about kids than the guys I see biking through Webster Groves every Sunday.
Yeah.
So if there's an image that there's a little kid with a helmet on, and maybe training with, I don't know. I would like to see us whenever we have a chance to represent the community. I'd like us to, keep in mind that we can diversify that. I know you're kind of dealing with some stock images from other places, but I would feel like it's worthwhile to, even if it's a couple of different flyers like this, we could use this one that Sloan's put together in Canva, which looks great, but maybe there's another version or two that kind of cycle through. No pun intended right there. I didn't think of that until I just said it, but
That was fun.
I think it'd be very easy to just put a different biker on. We just have to go look through some other images, but I don't think it will take very long at all.
that'd be great. And especially if there's a kids one that we could, some of these things, I think, we can, as I think about these social media posts, if we create like 3 different images about the same topic, then we can put those can carry us through 3 months and overlap. another issue that could, if we have images like that, and then another image might just be something that captures someone's idea. Like I feel like I would click on a kid biking more than I would be some person who I see speeding down Lockwood on a Saturday morning. So there might be some ways that we can kind of like extend the impact or the longevity of some of these issues by some of the imagery we create. So yeah, if there's a way to create another one or two that has a different kind of imagery that kind of represents the community, I think that would be good to do.
Oh, Centron puts in the comments, could we actually use children from our community?
That's risky.
So I know there are, do you mean like as the visuals? So it's like photographs as opposed to an illustration style, or more for like a follow-on piece? Do you have a particular context for that, Centron? Opposed to the stock photo. Okay.
I
Yeah,
think
we
from a
can take a
privacy
look
point of
at
view,
it.
that's very risky.
Yeah, I know there are issues about featuring children in imagery.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
like in a
sex-
school, you have to have special, clearances and,
there's releases and waivers and things, and I think that would take some conversation and maybe even some legal advice, frankly. We've been
Yeah.
dealing with this at the university for a while now in terms of privacy and data and front-facing information about students and how to manage that. It's pretty tricky, and there's some legislation in Congress now that may really impose some strict expectations about how privacy is protected, even in images like that.
yeah,
So I agree with Centra. I think that imagery is a good idea, but it's something we should approach carefully, I think.
yeah. Okay, John, thank you. That was really a good, an important piece of feedback. So, Sloan, do you just want to take a shot at looking in Canva to see for, if you can find an alternative? But if you want to get together, Dale, we actually met in person in the one conference room and knocked that out. Is that how we did it? God, I can't even remember. No, we did that one.
Yeah, we met in a conference room once, but then this last one we just met on Zoom.
Oh, that's right. We just met on Zoom. Because we weren't doing any kind of policy decision. We're just working on a piece of art that then we shared publicly just now that the public could have seen. So I think if you want, I'm happy to schedule another Zoom and you and I could just look at it, and we could look at adding have a safe and fun summer, and we could look at the event that Dale referenced and figure out, how to mention that here is how our police support bike safety.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Well, I'll reach out to you via email and we'll find an evening or afternoon that's acceptable to you. I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. All right. Well, we are now 10 minutes shy of an hour. If we don't have anything else, I guess we can be official. Does anybody want to move that we close our meeting and we adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Okay,
not sure
I'll
we got
second.
Second, yeah.
All right. Okay, well, thank you guys. This was so productive. I really like this. I'm going to propose that we continue it as a regular occurrence. All right. Well, I'll see you all next week.
All right, thank you.
And thanks very much.
Bye-bye.